Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts. Hey there, true believers. Andy Nelson here from the Marvel Movie Minute podcast with the rest of the team.
Pete Wright,
Kyle Olson,
Rob Cabasco,
and Matthew Fox.
This is the podcast where we dissect the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time, exploring every detail of this epic superhero franchise.
In our season looking at Iron Man 3, we're going to mix things up a bit.
That's right, Rob and I are your guides, but instead of our usual minute-by-minute format, we dive into 5 minutes of the film in each weekly episode.
It's a totally new approach, but one that still allows us to explore all the depth and detail that makes these movies so special, even if Iron Man 3 isn't all that special.
Hold on, that's where you're wrong. Extremist, Shane Black.
Yeah, would you like to look at the Mandarin and Maya Hansen? Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a die-hard Marvel fan or just love deep dives into movies, there's something for everyone on Marvel Movie Minute.
Suit up and join us on this epic audio adventure. You can find us at truestory.fm or by searching Marvel Movie Minute on your favorite podcatcher.
Because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, every minute is packed with excitement.
Enough said.
Well, howdy folks, my name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we're the hosts of The Exorcist Minute, a show where we examine, extrapolate, and excavate the scariest movie of all time.
Each episode covers a single minute of William Friedkin's 1973 horror masterpiece, The Exorcist.
If you like deep dives, this show is the deepest.
Did you know the film's iconic theme song, Tubular Bells, wasn't written specifically for the movie?
Or that the 1973 audience members were throwing up and fainting in the theater before they ever got a glimpse of the demon?
Or what about all the crazy on-set mishaps, cast injuries, the director firing real guns?
Ooh, ever wonder where Ouija boards came from or how they got their name? How about some history on the Catholic Church or the Roman rite of exorcism? Or maybe we can tempt you with some juicy demonology lore. Did you know that Pazuzu had an ex-wife? Find The Exorcist Minute on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your shows or at theexorcistminute.com. Until next time, folks,
the power of The Exorcist compels you.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to figure out and embrace all of nerd culture, one entity at a time. I am trying all sorts of crazy shit. I've already sworn because it's an evening record. Full disclosure. All bets are off. I'm doing sci-fi, fantasy, games, comic books, all of it. And this one tonight is something that everyone would have assumed, knowing me, a mainstream gal. They would have assumed I would have loved this and watched it on the CW or WB. I did not, because it involved vampires and supernatural elements, and then I was out. But now I'm in. Tonight, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer with my esteemed guests. Guests, you heard right, 2 of them. Podcast impresario, he makes us refer to him as that.
He doesn't.
Co-founder of True Story FM, the reason I can do any of this, ladies and gentlemen, the peerless Pete Wright.
Hi, Mandy.
And in charge of Foley tonight, and nothing else, just sound effects, you just heard it, is podcaster and host of the Storywell podcast, and friend of mine, 2-time appearance on Make Me a Nerd, one of my very first guests, Kyle Olson.
Hey, I'm back.
Guys,
Yes.
we're here. And I did it before, and I'll do it again. At last. This has been much postponed due to sickness and other things that have happened in the world, which caused me to have to rewatch what I watched a month ago because I'm an old gal and my memory ain't good. So
I hope that wasn't a chore for you.
No, not at all. But I thought I'm not going to understand my references and my notes. So I went back and rewatched the 3 chosen episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But before we get started, my friend Kyle Olson would like to make a statement.
Yes, I said, I asked Mandy if I could have a little bit of time here at the start. I wish I was doing a bit, but unfortunately I'm not, because there is a situation we kind of need to address. So as I am a writer, I have written this down. So I will be essentially performing some spoken word at this point. So just so I think it's off the top of my head, I wanted to make sure I had the words right. So in Arizona, we have a tradition in the theater. Before a play starts, we take a moment to acknowledge that the land on which the stage was built was unjustly taken from the native tribes who originally made it their home. It's a way of not apologizing for the past, but accepting that these events happened and should be remembered. I find myself in the same situation here because as J.K. is to the fans of Harry Potter, so Joss Whedon is to the fans of Buffy. His sins were much more of the Harvey Weinstein variety, a small man who used his power to make life hell for the women that he claimed to champion. And as someone who deeply admired the man, I have been tending to the wounds this caused me and doing what I can to separate the art from the artist, because even bad people can make great art, and your heroes can turn into villains. Sometimes the hardest thing in this world is to live in it. For a well-researched deep dive into not only the making of the show, but what came after these truths were revealed, I encourage the curious to seek out a book called Into Every Generation a Slayer is Born by Evan Ross Katz. But a TV show is not a novel, and while he was an architect, it took hundreds of people to build the show and millions to create a community of which I am a proud member. And what he does not, has never, and will never own is our fandom. Because I am a Buffy fan and I want to celebrate it. I want to talk about how much it means to me, how it changed me as a person, how it still connects with me. But I do this acknowledging the pain of many who suffered for this art. You were kind enough to invite me on your show, Mandy. I don't want to use the time to get into all the ugliness that went on, but I'm here to be with two of the people that I love, talking about a thing that I love. And sometimes love makes you do the wacky. Thank you, Mandy, for granting me this moment. And let me be the first to say, welcome to Sunnydale.
That was outstanding, Kyle.
Now I'm crying for the second time on my podcast.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling it out and hopefully allowing us to have a discussion that is lighthearted in darker times.
And as I bring up in the book, none of the cast or crew who have been on it have asked for a ban or to stop watching or to stop loving the show. They have said, we worked hard on this, even though some of us suffered for it. Enjoy it, celebrate it.
Yeah.
One bad apple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One bad apple.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the biggest apple. But I hope people can continue to love the show and enjoy their fandom.
Yeah.
On to brighter times.
Yes,
what was both of yours experience of Buffy? Did you watch it in its original run? Did you come to it later?
Why do you ask? Is it because it's weird that two middle-aged white guys are coming to talk about a show about teenagers?
Not weird at all.
Not weird at all.
Totally on brand.
Yeah, it's true. Legitimately discovered Buffy in season 1, watched it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And as it happens, there were a number of alumni from my wife's college who lived in my fair city and would come over for Buffy night weekly. And we had group watches every week as we could do it. This show spoke to something for me that put me in the space I was in when I was in high school. And that is a very special feeling and a very special relationship. There were characters I related to that I still relate to. And and I think it's a special show for that reason.
You had a lot of supernatural shit going on at your high school?
So much.
Yes.
God, hellmouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about you? When did you start to watch and love this show?
Yeah, it was the same thing. We talked when I was on before about Star Wars. So and part of the thing about Star Wars is it's to me it's an element. It's always been there. Like I can't tell you what water tastes like because it's always been there. But very few shows can I say I have an exact date of when I became a fan, because I was there watching the premiere of this show day one, and everything changed from there on out. And it was so much so that I watched it and was absolutely so blown away of this may be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, as opposed to some stuff where I liked. This is where I discovered fandom and a community, and my creative DNA was rewritten by this show. I watched every episode live and I was so excited. And this was during the time when there were still reruns. I then taped it when it was on again, VHS tape, because this was before DVDs
Sure.
or any of that stuff.
Right.
And then made copies and gave them to people saying, you need to watch this show.
Wow.
Like,
And
was
I just
guerrilla
noticed you're
marketing
wearing
for
your
Buffy.
Sunnydale
I
t-shirt.
am original.
Yeah.
Oh, you're bringing it.
Outstanding.
I love it so much. For me, that show was Santa Barbara. I was homesick.
Ah.
And it was like the third day of Santa Barbara. And I saw Robin Wright flipping her hair and crying because she was raped. It was not light.
Yeah.
But I was mesmerized. And then Santa Barbara became this, beloved soap opera for years. But I was like, I saw it from jump. Like
Yes.
I happened to catch it and I was addicted from the start. So I get that kind of fandom, but my fandom is more mainstream, of course. And based on
That's what we're
blonde, wavy hair, of course. So you guys did not assign me the pilot. But you were trying to give me specific episodes that you thought would really highlight strengths of the show. But I have learned through my journey in my nerducation that watching the pilot is very helpful to me because to jump into a show mid-season feels very jarring. So I did watch the pilot and
Good.
it was good.
Mm-hmm.
My only big note was, as a high school show, it was trying to capitalize on Clueless, and it was falling short for me with its lingo and its attitude. But as a vampire show, it was fantastic.
Can I ask, Mandy, did you see the movie?
No.
The movie was first. And I think it's important because the movie was first from all of this stuff. And it already established a Buffy in a Buffy universe. And I think in many respects, what the show does in that pilot is sort of retcon the character and soften the Valley Girl edges. So insofar as, I would say, like, if you really want to see where that character came from and what it was trying to capitalize on and what it was trying to shed, the skin it was trying to shed, you got to check out the movie, which is very different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't watch it because we were focused on this. But
and wouldn't have assigned it ever.
But I'm glad I watched it because it gave me a sense of the world and a sense of the characters.
I'm glad you. I think Pete and I are both glad you watched it.
For sure.
There are many shows that, like, maybe over the course of the thing that we'll ask you to watch that say maybe you shouldn't watch the pilot because pilots tend to be very different. They tend to go a different way. Buffy's pilot is very good. It's just we tried to find stuff that we use that when it got really good.
Right.
So like it starts out from a very good place, especially for what was on at the time. Like no one was doing what they were doing.
Okay, so what time was this?
98.
Oh, okay. A little before I was thinking. So what else was on? This was 90210 and Melrose Place and
but no one
Friends.
Was, and that's so 90210 is a good example because this was at a time when teenagers were being played by 25 to 30-year-olds. No one was really having teenagers that looked and talked like teenagers. Buffy was sort of the first one to sort of roll that clock back, and then like Degrassi would be a part of My So-Called Life. Like all that was in the DNA at the time of like having people. They don't look like models. I mean, this is an attractive cast, but none of them are going to be on a giant billboard over Sunset that everybody's like, the Melrose Place of it all. This was awkward and weird, and young.
Well, notably, Cordelia would have, and that's the point.
Yes,
like that vapid character would have been the model for all those other shows,
right? And I think she was on one of the Aaron Spelling shows that didn't last very long.
This is Charisma Carpenter.
Charisma Carpenter, yes.
Yes. Okay, so the first episode we watched was season 2, episode 3, School Hard, Parents in the Night. I don't know why I wrote that. When parent-teacher night is interrupted by uninvited guests, Buffy must protect her fellow students, the principal, and her mother while keeping her secret. Meanwhile, Angel's old friends, Spike and Drusilla, visit Sunnydale for the night of the Saint Vigius, the holy night of the attack.
So was this? That
You're
was
both not.
Yes.
Yeah. You're nodding like I pronounced everything correct. Oh,
you did. You nailed it.
Fantastic.
And this was the first thing you watched, right?
Yes. No, I watched the pilot.
You watched the pilot.
But then this was quite a jump, so I was a little lost. So the show opens with Buffy in the principal's office with a gum-chewing sassy pants named Sheila, who's in a lot of trouble. And I was like, who is this? Had she appeared
No.
prior?
No,
This was her first appearance?
This is
and final appearance.
Yeah.
Good, because she's not a good actress. So, yeah, Buffy and Sheila are both in trouble for fighting or something, and their paths of mischief are revealed by the principal. Oh, no.
Well, no, this is one of the things that comes from the movie, because the movie is in the same universe. And the fact that, and one of the things to know about Buffy and her relationship those first few seasons with principals, and the principal characters have a rough go of it, is that
not a good job.
She has earned the reputation of burning down her high school before the show started.
Yeah.
Who hasn't?
No principal has trusted her ever since. So here we are in season 2, and the principal is already bringing that baggage. And that's what. So Buffy's in that room because nobody likes Buffy. The principal doesn't like Buffy. Sheila's in there for doing stuff that gets high schoolers in trouble.
Okay. So then that's the real high school of it all. Then we cut to the underworld of it all. And there's a kid who is clearly in charge of the underworld. I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah.
And then there's a bad guy. And I said, dressing him in Eileen Fisher is an odd choice. He's wearing like a loose knit sweater, right? I mean, it's odd.
Yeah.
And then we meet Spike. Who I recognized as he was one of the big stars of the show. Yeah. Was this his first episode?
This was his first episode.
We actually had a different episode picked, but Kyle wrote and rightly suggested we have to introduce Spike.
Yes. I wanted you to meet Spike. Yeah. And also Pete had a good suggestion for a very good episode, but this is much more what a typical Buffy episode is like.
Yeah.
And the other two that we're going to talk about are not typical Buffy.
No,
they're great episodes of television, which I definitely enjoy, but they're very different than what Buffy normally is. And this is the closest to a normal Buffy episode next to the pilot.
Okay, so Spike comes into this underworld with swagger, and then his girlfriend Drusilla comes in, and they are so porny together. Yeah. And I was uncomfortable with just the two of them being all porny. And then later in the episode they tie up Sheila and it gets real porny. This was a primetime show, was it not?
Yeah on the WB, so like prime time.
All bets are off.
Well, it's off to the side. I mean,
teens were watching.
But
this felt really sexualized.
The sexuality is definitely a part.
But
it is part of the show. It is built into the show. I mean, I don't know we'll sort of get to the end when you say about your big feelings, but I can tell you there are things that happen along the way, like directly about sexuality, and not in a porny, pervy kind of way, but like about the experience of sexuality as a young person and the consequences and like the positive negatives. That's the sort of, and it was all baked into Buffy. It was never exploitative, in my opinion. But it was saying this is a part of the human condition, and this is something we're going to address. It's not just about fighting vampires. We're also going to deal with life stuff.
We're going to use monsters and horror to teach you some things.
Yes, which
you might not otherwise be ready to talk about.
There's a magic spell that Buffy casts. We'll talk
these
about.
Characters are adults. They're not the kids who might be exploring losing their virginity or so it just felt like a Skinamaxy 1980s porny scenario with
those
Drusilla
two characters were inspired by Sid and Nancy. Like
really? That makes sense.
That was 100% like what there is, except that they switched them. Like essentially like Drusilla is the real is the Sid of the relationship.
Yeah.
And Spike is the Nancy.
Yeah, she needs to try to put her eyeballs back into her skull, but that's probably never going to happen for her. She's got giant peepers, right? I mean, really uncomfortably large, open eyes. So soon after somebody says, Wikipedia, who I use as my Bible, I'm sure it's always accurate and nothing's ever wrong. They call something a full Scooby. Cordelia making steaks in a library is a full Scooby.
Yeah.
And I was confused by that. Do they refer to themselves as like the Scooby-Doo gang at some point?
The Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
No do.
Just the Scooby-Doo.
At parties, you're going to want to know, drop the do.
Drop
it's
the
just
do.
the Scooby.
Drop the do. Yeah, just the Scooby
The
Gang. Yeah, that's
Scoobies.
their little collective, that surround Buffy, refer to themselves as the Scooby Gang or the Scoobies.
Okay, and people on Wikipedia had a problem because Cordelia wasn't really featured in the episode, and then there she was just whittling steaks. Because they had to.
There's
you know,
nothing
she
wrong
has a
with adding Charisma
contract.
Carpenter to any episode.
Yeah.
Right.
Every episode gets better when Charisma Carpenter is involved.
Yeah, she was core cast. It's not like she was a recurring role. She was core cast
in season 1. She was a recurring role.
She
but
was
then
recurring. Yeah.
She popped so hard with everybody, including the cast and crew, that she became. And and sometimes they had to sort of bend backwards to try and get her in, to try and fit her into it. But she becomes like a core member of the group, and then joins the spinoff with Angel as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
She's 100% like as much as Xander and Oz and the rest of them. She is,
and she was in the running to play Buffy.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. But I think they got it right with Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's so vulnerable and charming and badass, and she really is the perfect Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. Well, and everybody else in the cast has a full 6 to 10 years on her, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody else at this point.
Well, she had won an Emmy before she got Buffy.
Yeah, but Nicholas Brendan was the youngest. Oh, actually, I take it back. Allison Hannigan was 23.
She's young.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was 20.
Yeah.
Nicholas Brendan, 26. Charisma Carpenter, 27. Everybody else was older. I think James Marsters was like 38.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he wasn't he wasn't supposed to be a teen. So that
he was not.
He was not even designed to be a recurring
character.
He just he came out in this episode and he popped so hard amongst the fans. This is a wrestling term, pop is, but that he became around, and so much so that it actually became kind of a problem, because like he's this incredible bad guy.
Right.
How do you keep him around? So
and what is wrestling?
That's a whole other episode that we'll have to talk about.
Right. No, but okay. So I always love those stories of people who booked a one episode or a 2-episode arc, and then, the public had a hunger for them, and they got to come back. So that's pretty cool. He's very charismatic.
He's with the show pretty much until the very, very end.
Oh, okay.
Guess who's not?
Yeah.
Drusilla is not.
No. Well, not in the one I watched, but or the 2 I watched.
Yeah.
What happened to her, you guys?
She just comes and goes.
She comes and goes. She's just gone.
That's Drusilla. Like
you talk about characters who pop. Like she didn't pop.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's true. I think she had her eyes on much bigger prizes than a small WB show. Because that's Juliet Landau, who's the daughter of Martin Landau, the actor from way back, who was in Ed Wood.
Sure. But so, she's doing a British accent, if you can hear my quotes.
Yes.
And she's a very specific type. She's the Aubrey Plaza of Buffy. And I was not. I'm just everyone far and wide knows that I don't care for Aubrey Plaza. So I was not such a fan of Juliet Landau. Okay. But that's a personal opinion.
Yeah. Sure.
What
you thought of Spike then?
Mm-hmm.
William the
he
Bloody.
was charismatic and interesting, and I was down.
Yeah.
And he killed a kid, which I'm always a fan of.
Sure.
Anywho,
but his I mean, we talked about the British in quotes. What do you think of Marsters British?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not British?
No, he's an American.
He's an American actor.
I thought it was good.
Good.
Yeah.
I buy his British.
He's a theater kid.
Yeah. I buy it. Well done, James Marsters.
We're fans of James Marsters.
Yeah, we love James, and I've met him. He's just as
quality,
charismatic in person.
Oh, good.
He's like,
okay, so
my Spike.
So here's where I want to stop down for a second. I have an old friend who was on the show, but not on these episodes. His name is Tommy Link.
Oh yeah. We love Tommy.
Which one was he in?
He's one of the nerds. He's one of the season 6.
He was in many episodes.
Well.
Yeah,
many episodes.
Not just one.
Yeah.
And so I did a show with him many, many years ago when I first moved to Los Angeles. And he's like, after we close the show, I'm flying to Australia for a con. And I said, what's a con? And he explained, I was on this TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I get to go to these places and meet fans and sell pictures and, and that's how I make money. And I was wondering, because I was like, oh, like Star Trek. I had heard of that for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Sure.
Was this one of the, like, what do you guys think in terms of timelines? There was Star Trek, which had conventions, but was Buffy one of the first newer entities in the age of internet to break out and cause this kind of fever?
Yes, absolutely. I would say that it might even be at the apex of that time, because they started an online forum called the Bronze, named after the bar that they hang out in. And not only would all the fans gather there, but the writers would gather there and the cast would gather there. It was the first time that we as fans had that kind of access to the people who were making the thing. I mean, the Star Trek were out there, but like whenever Star Trek was being done, it was away in a room somewhere in Southern California, and you just got delivered an episode and that was it. Like you maybe could write a fan letter, but that was it. This is people would go, hey, what did you guys think of this episode? And you could actually have sort of that sort of interaction. And from that, it built this amazing community that then go over to a convention where you could have a person who is 5th, 6th, 8th lead on Buffy, and they could come and have a line around the building to get their first line. I've met most of the cast of Buffy because of conventions, because they come out and you just walk around and you get to. I've stood on stage next to Allison Hannigan. I got to be a moderator at one of her panels.
Wow.
And it was trying to keep my cool.
Yeah.
Standing next to Willow.
Fangirling out. Yes, that's cool.
Yeah. So they and the Buffy cast has been incredibly accessible that way. Where they are
since then.
Proud. Since then. And still they're still out there doing stuff. Yeah. I mean, I follow Tommy Lank on Instagram. He's fantastic.
Well, he's a genius.
He's a social media maven.
Genius. Yeah. And
it's also interesting. Like, I think this show, to your point, Kyle, like this show changed the expectation for shows to come, right? Not only the Whedon shows, but but like 1999, Mandy, you've already done it. Farscape.
Yeah.
Launched in 1999.
Absolutely.
And the day that show launched, there was an expectation of that kind of access in the sci-fi fantasy con space.
Yeah. And I've met most of it. I listened to your episode on Farscape, which I'm a huge fan of as well. And I thought it was excellent. Your guest was fantastic.
She's wonderful. Audrey Karen.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Authority,
I was listening sort of along. I'm like, did you get a real scaper on? And I was like, oh, she's like,
she's a scaper. Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like her pulse pistol, I am not worthy to handle.
Well, that sounds personal. Okay, so back to this episode just briefly, and then I want to move on to our next episode, because I think the others are more interesting and different.
Sure.
And
you
know, but is the mom a bad actress, or am I crazy?
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
She's playing it like that. She's playing a sort of a caricature.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's actually quite talented at doing it.
Yeah. She's really good at being that
Daffy.
Yeah. And she has a whole arc of how she learns about this and how she changes, and how her relationship to Buffy, how it changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said, when does she learn? How does she not know?
She will. Yeah.
I mean, I spy on my son relentlessly, and there's no way he's fighting vampires and I don't know about it.
There's
Although
actually
I go to sleep at 8 p.m. So if
there is an episode, I think it's in season 5, where she meets Spike, because Spike is now sort of on the side of good. We won't get into all the things, but they're sitting in chairs waiting for Buffy. 2 of them are sitting in easy chairs, and they're just sitting there quietly. And she looks over and goes, "Haven't I met you before?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I tried to kill you with an axe." Remember?
Okay.
Oh,
bygones are bygones.
Yeah. So that is one of the other things about Buffy that was different as opposed to a lot of the shows, is that it had a continuity. So like that kind of that's a joke that pays off like 30 episodes later.
Right.
And so this is one of the first of these kind of shows that said last episode mattered.
Right.
Like, and
what
we're
a
gonna,
gift
and the
to the
characters
fans,
will
right?
remember everything.
For loyal
that happened.
fans, what a gift.
Everything is simultaneously true. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's important.
Well, I love the female empowerment of the show, and that the mom swoops in, not David Boreanaz, and to save Buffy. But I wasn't a huge fan of the mom in that episode. That's the only I think that's the only one where she's featured.
But it's an important, like, what there are three things that I think are really important of this that we get out of the show, that this episode in particular turns on its head, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we get to emphasize the duality of identity through watching Buffy essentially do a Laverne and Shirley style, I have to do two things at once.
Yeah.
We get the complete subversion of evil authority, right? That Spike is a bigger bad than any of the other bad that we've been dealing with, that there are rules that can be broken on the side of evil.
He vaporizes a 9-year-old. I mean, Spike is...
Exactly. And that 9-year-old was set up as a threat that we fans...
He was being set up as the next big bad from the first season.
They were saying, like, this is the next big evil. And then
this episode was town and dusts him.
Shocking. It was shocking that they took this turn. And the fact that this is a coming of age episode. This is one of those data points where Buffy's heroism earns her mother's respect. And that's just chipping away at Mom's identity relationship with Buffy.
Wow,
did you get your 3?
Shit.
I want to make sure I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I know, we have the other 2 episodes to talk about, but there's one last sort of the magic spell that Buffy does that no one really did before, and now everybody does, and nobody knows it's a magic trick anymore, is they would take something that everyone can relate to and then put a supernatural thing on top of it. So you see a little bit in School Hard about the balancing of life in school and but they'll do stuff like they'll do an episode where a girl is ignored. So nobody pays any attention to her. She becomes invisible, like literally invisible. So it's one of these great metaphors of, like, she literally no one notices her, and then no one can see her, and then what
episode is that? Pete just had such
good
a great
episode.
reaction. Seriously, what episode
that was the first season episode.
First season.
Yeah, and there's one where
I think it's called Invisible Girl, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm going to watch that one.
It's a good one. And there's an episode where a teacher starts to have a relationship with a student in an inappropriate. A female teacher has but in the Buffy world, she's a praying mantis, and she wants to mate with him, and then is going to kill him. So it's every time they'll take something that is a typical teenage or even just a life experience, I think, and then they'll add this thing on top of it. So both things are true at the same time. It is about a predator relationship, like an inappropriate thing, but also there's a monster who's trying to kill you.
Well, I think that's why
Buffy does it over and over again, and it's magic every time they do it. And now everybody does it. Nobody knows, like, this is where it came from.
Well, I think that was my gut reaction to the pilot. The high school stuff, meh. The supernatural stuff, exciting, different, inventive, and that was my reaction to the pilot. And that's why, if he's going to take high school experiences and turn them into supernatural allegories, if I'm using that word correctly, then I'm all down. That's better than what I thought the pilot was, which was much more typical high school scenarios.
Yeah, honestly, when Pete said, "Would you like to come on and do this?" I was super excited. I like talking about Buffy, but I also, because specifically I was like, man, if we can do this, if we can pull this off, I think Mandy would love this show.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I said, I like the fact that you watched 3 episodes of Farscape. That's probably all the episodes you're going to watch, and that's okay. But, like, honestly, Buffy, I was like, ooh, if we can show her some good stuff, I really think that you specifically would really like Buffy.
Well, there's a lot that I relate to and that I enjoy, and the humor and the tone, and although no crushes. I just want to.
Okay.
Although maybe Sarah Michelle Gellar, but but like, I haven't found the crush yet.
Okay.
Just real-time fact checking. It's not Invisible Girl. It's Out of Mind, Out of Sight, which is beautiful.
That's right.
And if you want to watch, I'm just going to throw it out there so we can move on.
Yeah.
If you want to watch an episode that deals with boys discovering puberty, you're going to need to watch The Pack, season 1, episode 6.
Yes. Also a bad time for a principal.
Bad time for principals.
All right.
It's a good one.
That's a story
really
about boys becoming men and
bullying.
Bullying, yeah.
Well, I hear Pack. I assume they're werewolves.
No.
Oh, no, Mandy, you're
no more
stupid.
talking, Kyle.
No more time to watch it. So good.
All right. Moving on to the second episode I watched. Season 4, episode 10, Hush. A silence falls over Sunnydale when otherworldly beings come to town and steal the power of speech from all the residents. Meanwhile, Riley, who gets his first clue to Buffy's Slayer side when they have a fight with the outside visitor, and Willow attends a Wicca group. That's not all she had hoped.
Yes.
So this
now, okay,
was
let me
a
just
leap
say,
for me because now Buffy's in college.
yes,
With
a lot of time has passed. Water under the bridge.
Right. So, but as well done, gents, as a standalone episode, it was riveting. It worked, even if I had never heard of Buffy or whatever. This episode was exquisite.
Yeah.
To watch a silent episode, I said, "Oh, they know I fold laundry while I watch these things. This was their way of getting me to actually focus."
Yeah.
So, mission accomplished.
Yeah. That's
couldn't turn away.
Hush
no dialogue.
is an absolute all-timer. And I was worried because it's like I have it built up in my head as this fantastic thing, and then sat down and watched it again. I'm like, oh, it still works. It's still creepy. It is still incredibly well constructed. The gentlemen are so creepy.
The way they float and okay. So
shout out to Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Doug Jones, Shape of Water. Holy shit!
Yep.
I mean, he is a master.
Yeah.
Shape of Water, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a moment for Shape of Water. How beautiful is
also,
that
if you ever get to go to a convention and you get to meet Doug Jones, he gives some of the best hugs in the world because he's so big.
Yeah.
His arms will just wrap around you. It's
I like feeling
amazing.
tiny.
Yeah.
I might have to do that.
Such a charming man.
So just for my catch up, capabilities.
Sure.
Willow is now a witch.
Yes.
Okay. Spike is Giles' roommate.
Yes.
Yes.
Last time I saw him, he was determined to kill Buffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was very
kind of still is.
Yeah. He is a troubled character, and sometimes that's funny, and sometimes it's terrifying and sad.
Yes.
And it is a roller coaster the entire, and you can see it in the third episode we watch. He's still conflicted.
Yeah.
So it's a long arc for Mr. Marsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe we're not going to get deep into continuity and stuff too. At that point, he has a chip in his head that stops him from hurting people.
Right.
That's why. That's
They learned that from Santa Barbara.
That's why they're okay being around him. So he's still the same. He's not like he's not redeemed. He's not really changed. He literally is muzzled.
Okay.
So they have him around almost out of pity. He can't hurt anyone because he has this chip in his head.
Okay, so he can't hurt
from the
anyone.
organization that Riley works for, as you see in Hush.
Right.
Oh,
they founded. They tagged him, and he escaped.
Yeah, he's like a military organization.
Right. Yeah.
So I wrote, was this the scariest episode of this at the time? It was very creepy. So these gentlemen float into town and they're attacking people, and it because it's silent. There's no stir.
You can't.
There's no whipping things away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really legitimately scary, which I loved.
Well, this is one of the reasons I think we agreed so quickly that this was a must-watch episode. One, because it highlights the giant swings, risks that this show was willing to take in a homogenized television landscape. They turned off talking in a TV show.
Yeah.
It was just sort of unheard of. So it was one of those risky things. The other piece is it moves almost all the relationships forward in a way that does pay dividends to go watch, Once More with Feeling later. I think it introduces another element that we actually don't get that much, which is fairy tale horror.
Yeah.
In the story, which is a new element. Even here we are in season 4. And also it's through silence. All these characters face a lot of their feelings inside and out. Buffy and Riley, they obviously have an awakening in their relationship. Willow and Tara.
Yeah, that becomes an ongoing thing.
This is an ongoing thing. And it's not just sort of their relationship, but their, acceptance of sexual preference, identity.
Which, and as you know, as someone who was absorbing pop culture in the late 90s and stuff too, still taboo at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Was this before or after the Dawson's Creek kiss? This was before?
This is around the same time because they were both on. I think they're both on the WB at the same time.
At the time.
And so that was they cut away from that kiss in Dawson's Creek, but that was it's
Who
very
was
much
one
in
of
the
my
comic
dear
book.
friends?
So in the book,
Vanderbeek? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Are you serious?
No. The gay kiss.
The gay kiss. Okay.
Was on Dawson's Creek.
Yes.
One of my dearest friends, David Monahan, was the
okay.
actor.
I was in an a cappella group. I was an alumni immediately before James Vanderbeek joined my a cappella group. We went to the same school.
Wow.
Okay. Tangent. Because I never saw Dawson's Creek.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, I got close to not close. I was called back many times for it.
Oh,
so I got
it's a
bitter,
bitter-
and then I was like,
bitter
I'm not going to watch this show. So then I knew who James Vanderbeek was because I'm not an idiot. But did you ever watch Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He was a comic genius on that show, playing himself, lampooning.
Yeah.
I loved it so deeply. I love him. I hear he's got some medical issues now. I'm praying for him, but love James Vanderbeek. That was a huge tangent. Now we're back to Buffy.
Now we're back.
Here we go.
Yes, it was in the DNA. Like I think they probably shared cast members. I think like people going back and forth.
Yeah, this were all like similar.
Yeah. They're
audiences
for the same one. Yeah,
yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
First of all, note about this episode, Hush, that maybe I'm the only one to pick up on. A lot of nipples in this episode, guys. A lot of nipples.
Yeah.
Is that why we like it?
Hey, I mean, if you watch Friends episodes from the same time
there
period,
are a lot of nipples in Friends.
Well, that's Aniston not wearing a good enough bra. This was like a lot of men with their nipples out and hugging and cuddling and nipples. A lot of nipples.
Nipples were having a moment.
This episode brought to you by nipples.
Right. In the early 2000s.
And then I wrote, so because they can't speak, they start to draw stuff. And I wrote, Giles would be an amazing Pictionary partner. And I would be totally fucked if the gentleman came to my town because I can't draw worth shit. So all my friends wouldn't know what I was trying to communicate to them if we were doing that drawing thing. But
so Anthony Stewart Head also did nothing for you?
Oh.
Like older British, proper,
no.
Star of stage and screen.
Yeah,
like
star of
that
stage
guy,
and
he's
screen,
got pipes.
Villain of Ted Lasso. Like
Villain of Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah. He was good on that. Now that you say that, I'm like, oh right, I remember him on Ted Lasso. But I didn't. No, he doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
In a way, he feels like I can't think of a perfect example, but one of those character actors that's like, ugh, I got to do this shit now. I'm on a teen show. He didn't. In the episodes I watched, he didn't grab me as engaged.
Okay.
But
he very much is. Like he really embraced this and loved it and dug it. And also you learn a lot more, I think, but essentially you find out that he was a wild child. Like he tore up the town and then settled down into this.
Yeah.
So underneath that tweed is a rock and roll new wave wild man.
So he's an interesting actor, and I'll just say for his his credibility in this conversation, like he made his musical debut as Jesus in Godspell. He was in Chess and in Dr. Frankenfurter in Rocky Horror on stage. And he and his brother Murray Head was
that's
One Night in
Chess.
Bangkok Chess. So he and Murray were in Chess.
And Repo.
Right. So he's got like legit credits.
Chops,
and
he does sing. I mean, obviously you saw the musical, but he
yeah.
sings like
He's
he has
fantastic.
a couple solo songs over the course of the series.
And he played for the length of the run Uther Pendragon in Merlin on BBC, which was a great show. And it was another like this. Like it focused on the younger characters. Like he never once struck me as a guy who took it for the paycheck. Like he was having a
I can
good
tell you,
time.
James Marsters 100% took it for the paycheck. He like full on in the interview, he's like, I had a baby. I needed diaper money. Like I said, put me on whatever crap on television you can find. I'll do whatever you want. I just need to make that money for my kid. And then from that, a career was born. And now he's beloved by the fans. But he literally said, I'll do any crap you want. I'd say whatever you want me to say. I just need to put food in my kid's mouth.
Yeah.
Of the episodes we watched, this was my favorite. I really I really responded to it. I was really creeped out. And I said it felt like it was inventive and different, but really on brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was not a lot of square pegs and round holes. It was like, right, this they've stolen your ability to speak. That makes sense. And I respected it and enjoyed it. And then I watched once more with feeling. Season 6, episode 7.
Yes.
This is the absolutely famous musical episode of Buffy. This was the one that I couldn't wait to watch. Joss Whedon wrote, directed, and composed the music for the episode in which a mysterious force impels the Scooby Gang to burst into song. Even Buffy devotees may be hard-pressed to find an episode as off the wall as this, as Sunnydale denizens become players in production numbers in which cast members do their own vocals. Hear Tara sing about her love for Willow. See Xander and Anya perform a duet. Listen to Buffy croon about her lack of life direction. Who's behind the music? Dawn provides the key.
Oh, that's a nice turn of phrase.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's just for repeating it.
Yeah. I mean, so let me just ask the question before we get into how you felt about the music. Did you have any questions about this character, Dawn?
Yeah.
She was like a nothing to me. She didn't register. She's Giles' girlfriend or
no.
Who's Dawn?
Dawn is Buffy's sister.
Oh, Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yes,
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Okay. I knew Michelle Trachtenberg was on the show. Like I was familiar with her as a concept, so I think I just went with it. I wasn't questioning. She's her sister.
Yeah, a brief sidebar on Dawn, because this is an example of one of the great swings that the show took that was risky, right? Which was that in season 5...
Yeah, for the first 4 seasons and all of her life, Buffy was an only child.
Only child. And then season 5, Buffy has a sister.
And has always had a sister.
And has always had a sister.
Oh, they didn't explain it?
No,
they
didn't explain it for the
How did you feel about that?
For the longest, we were going crazy.
Crazy.
Okay.
Crazy.
Like
you can't just do that.
It was
you can't do that.
Cousin Oliver us. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you just all of a sudden add a young girl into the mix just because all the rest of them were in their 20s now and you needed a teen story. Like people were going crazy about it.
And there is a mystical answer to that she was a mystical entity known as the key.
The key.
And she was hidden there, and everybody was, and it works. Like it plays.
Uh-huh.
Everybody believes, but it was a long con.
Wow.
Is what this show pulled off. And I thought it's brilliant. In hindsight, it's brilliant. But Kyle's right. We were crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they teased it too. So there are multiple things where in dream sequences and mystical stuff, they say, be back before dawn, and you don't know what that means. And then suddenly in season 5, episode 1, Dawn is there living in the house and
fighting over using the bathroom.
Over something. And they both turn they go, stop fighting. And they both turn and go, Mom. And that's where the episode ends. And all of us went, what?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Rocked my world. I had no idea. And I sensed they were sisters, but I was like, well, no, they can't be. But maybe they found out there was this abandoned sister. I don't know. But it was okay. So
Buffy has died by this point.
Yes, died and been brought back.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So,
good for
this
her.
is and when you're reading the musical, that's the big revelation at the end is that so she literally died saving the world and was buried and in a coffin dead, and then was brought back. And so then she was different when she came back. And in this episode, this is the big revelation sort of season 6 that you find out that she didn't go to hell, which is what they thought.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they thought it was a rescue.
Yeah, they thought they were rescuing her from hell. And
so at the end, when she says, I was in heaven,
I was
in heaven.
And they pulled her out. That's
why everybody's crying, like Willow is crying at the end.
I did not get any of that.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, why would you?
Yeah.
Well, because it's there in the script and it's there on screen. But I was so focused on the musical aspect because I am a musical theater baby. That is my life, my training, my passion. And they had heavy, heavy hitters come in for this. Adam Shankman did the choreography. Christoph Beck did the score.
Christoph Beck, man. And then Hush, too. Hush is... music for that is incredible.
Did he do the score for that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Hinton Battle was
the late great Hinton
devil.
Battle. Come on.
We just lost him. So I was excited, and I had heard about this thing, and I am a massive fan of Scrubs, and when Scrubs did a musical episode,
Yeah, Stephanie
I thought,
D'Abruzzo. Yeah,
right,
Yep.
and with the composers of Avenue Q, I thought it was perfection. So my expectations were very high going into this Buffy episode.
Too bad.
Pete, I don't like where this is going.
I don't either.
Guys, I have to be honest. Watching a bunch of people who cannot sing and dance, try to sing and dance, to music written by somebody who should not be writing music. I was very underwhelmed by the musical episode.
Okay.
Oh God, did I just break your hearts?
No, it's a bummer, and I think
I'm surprised. It's just this is not
huge.
I thought it was going the
Yeah.
other way. I thought it would be like,
Yeah.
why'd you make us watch School Hard, but the musical? But it's going the other way. So
Yeah,
I think there is something to the musical episode coming to us when it did. Like
Yes.
when you have 6 seasons of a show where people don't sing and dance, suddenly the novelty of watching them do this is earned, and you already love the characters enough to know they're taking another huge swing by doing this and by not having themselves dubbed and by just being, because this is what they would sound like if they were taken over by a demon, right? Like this is it. So that's the whole package. That's what you get. And I think for those of us who were fans at the time, this hit hard.
Yes.
This hit really hard.
Yeah.
But did you, Pete, I know you have a musical background, and I don't know about you, Kyle, but did you like the music?
Oh, very much.
Oh, yes.
Very
Memorized.
much.
I've listened to it probably
Very
100
much.
times.
Oh, hundreds, more than that.
More
I mean,
than
it's
that,
just like if there was Spotify rap, that would have been
Pete can say any lyric from it, and I could do the next line from it. I mean, like,
I got a feeling
that it's a demon,
a dancing demon.
No, something isn't right there.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
like,
okay.
So,
Yeah.
like,
it
fact
didn't
is,
work for me.
I adore it, and the whole
The
time I was
fans
thinking,
love-
God, Mandy needs to pick a song from this for Miscast. It would be great for
Yeah.
fans. Now
Yeah,
I
they
know
would
you
love it.
won't.
I was scouring. I mean,
Rest in peace. Come on.
you
Rest
know,
in peace. Yeah,
which is what the one
That's
the
Spike's
devil
song.
does.
Spike's song.
Spike. Yeah.
Oh, Spike.
Yeah.
No,
Let
they're not
me
good songs,
rest in
guys.
peace.
And
No, it's
I
great.
didn't think anyone on the show except Tension Battle was a good singer.
Oh, and
So
Stuart Head. I thought it had a
Yeah,
great
I
voice.
thought they were great.
I was very underwhelmed,
Oh,
and I couldn't get past it. I just, I love and admire the swing. I love that they said we're going to do an entirely musical episode and we're going to format it differently and have our characters burst into song. They justified it really well, but I just didn't care for the music. I wish he had, I don't know, I wish he had brought in heavy hitters and said, hey, I have Christoph Beck here. Let's have other people write this music with me to make it, to make the music more palatable. I didn't enjoy it.
okay.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Oh, I mean, and I know this was the beloved episode, so
Yeah,
at
well,
Mandy
I mean-
_Kaplan _Clavens, both with K's, if you want to attack me
Well,
for this.
I
I
can tell you that, like, it is the best episode of season 6 entirely. Season 6 is pretty rough.
oh,
There are some things.
Yeah, there are some things
Yeah.
which we don't need to get into and stuff too. But this was the bright spot of that season.
now this was this the first musical episode of anything?
No,
No.
Xena
Oh.
had beat them to it.
Yeah.
Xena.
Yeah, Xena Warrior Princess had a musical episode, which is still, I think, is a fantastic musical episode. Another one that I've listened to 1,000 times.
Okay, and I've never
and
seen
then-
Xena,
and-
so
And apparently, Joss was very jealous of that they got there first, and so
okay.
he wanted to make sure that he wrote his, from scratch and didn't bring anybody from outside. Like, it's all from him. And here's what we got.
right. Well, I mean, now it's become de rigueur. Is that
Yeah.
the right phrase?
Yeah.
Everything's got a musical episode. It's just
Yes,
like,
for a long time, like the Ally McBeal of it all was karaoke, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
that's most of them that did it was just like, let's take a pop song and put it in here,
Mhm.
as opposed to like cop rock. But
How
all
dare
original
May it
you.
songs,
rest in
How
peace.
dare you,
all original
sir.
songs. Let's not
Yeah.
forget.
Right.
But this was the first. Xena was like the first that did, and then this was the first one that said, like, you can write a whole musical just this. You don't have to, like, just take songs from other things and then jukebox it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's I think that I would just say if you you don't have to go watch it again, okay? But if you were to
I
watch
did. I
it
watched
again,
it twice.
okay, there are so many layers.
Yes.
Just in the frame, there are so many layers to this episode. Even if you mute it, there are things going on in the background and the foreground in every sequence that are brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Like just
and huge
The
character
mustard,
revelation.
I loved the
Huge.
mustard
yeah,
and the
was-
parking
that
ticket,
was-
which is
that
Marty
both of those
Knopf
are
and the-
Buffy
dancing
writers.
with brooms while
Both
they're
of those
just
are Buffy writers, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
The mustard
Yes.
and the
I
are
looked
both
that
Buffy
up.
writers.
Yeah. I mean, I did love those details. And it was because Adam Shankman is a genius. It was when it was light and bright and choreographed, it was great. But watching Sarah Michelle Gellar uncomfortably walk down a street and sing just didn't do it for me.
Yeah,
I-
she is not a musical person. She would never say that. Oh yeah, I'm a fantastic singer. But and they said we'll get somebody for you. We'll get a singer. We'll get somebody to come in. And then she read the script and went, "You want the major revelation, the huge emotional arc of my character to be sung by somebody else?" She's like,
Right.
"Sign me up for lessons because I'm not
And-
letting anybody else do that."
and the fact that just about everybody else in the cast said yes.
Yeah, except for Allison Hannigan. who
Allison
was like,
Hannigan did
except for
not
Allison
say
Hannigan.
yes.
He was like, I'll take one line in 2 different songs,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Right.
I think this line's mostly filler.
Yeah,
yes.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
But even, I mean, I found them all to be weak singers. I'm so shocked to hear Anthony Stewart Head as a
yeah, he's got an album
trained
now.
singer.
Yeah.
Music for
That
Elevators.
shocks me. Maybe it's just I didn't care for the music, so I wasn't forgiving of his voice. But I just, Nicholas Brendan was uncomfortable. I found it all uncomfortable to watch them struggle.
It's too bad because I don't get any sense of struggle. Like struggle it implies that they were embarrassed doing it. And I don't think
Not embarrassed, but out of their league is my
Yeah, but I think that's built into the DNA of the episode, though.
Yeah.
Too. Like it wasn't
sure.
that the spell wasn't they become great singers. The spell was
make
whatever
ordinary
they
people
fill
sing.
up. They have to release what is
Mhm.
in their in song, whether they want to or not.
That's it. The promise of the episode was not great performances like
Yeah.
Broadway
Yes.
performances.
No, and I respect that. But I guess because I'm such a fan of Scrubs and I could still sing all those songs, I felt like that did it so much better. And just a few years later, you know.
Yeah.
But,
But,
I mean, honestly, a lot of like it's standing on the shoulders. Like that's the
Mhm.
thing is like Buffy is a trendsetter in so many ways that people
Oh,
don't even
yes.
see that like
Yeah.
it is a cornerstone of somebody like you've had Kirstie Lenz on the show. Loves Supernatural. There would not be a Supernatural
Were it
if not for Buffy. So
Agreed.
Buffy walked so that Supernatural could run for 13 seasons. I mean,
Agreed.
there's so many of those shows you can draw the line direct, and even creatively, like from
Yes.
the writers and creators, you can draw lines directly on there. It is the spider at the center of the web.
Do you feel it went on a bit too long? You were saying six season was weak.
Okay.
Well,
Is it better
no,
when it's a
all
teenage
right.
vampire?
We're near the hour mark. I don't know how much
Yeah.
we want to get into this, but yeah,
Okay. Look,
a case could be made.
a case could be made. Yeah, that maybe Buffy should never have gone to college in the first place. Like
Okay.
there are issues with paramilitary underground, like psychology professor, leader of militant organization that fights demons.
Yeah.
Things got rocky, but then like the show, it's a roller coaster. You have rocky stuff, and then you
Mhm.
have Once More with Feeling, these
Mhm.
gigantic swings. So it's hard for me to say that it's that it went on too long because I was with it until the bitter end.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it never shook me.
And
Right?
I will say the end is not bitter in this case.
No,
Like, there are some
I agree
shows
with
that the last episode of Buffy is a fantastic episode that capstones everything.
100%. I think the last 3 episodes should be
Yeah.
watched together.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like
I mean,
a movie.
that's so if you decide to go on this journey, we can give you a roadmap of like
course.
the ones to
Yeah.
steer through that you
Right,
can sort
right.
of avoid and still have a really good time with.
When
Buffy.
to really focus on my laundry
Yeah.
and when to
Yeah, there's a couple that you can just like right out the door.
Yeah.
But that if you decide to do it as a piece, which is another thing that's great about Buffy, is there's a first episode, there's a last episode, and that's it. You don't have to do into any ancillary stuff. You don't have to read comic books, or if you don't want to, you don't have to play the video games or any of that stuff, like this is a piece.
Are there comic books and video
There are.
games?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
comic books. It's still going on. There's a lot of stuff that happens afterwards. But like Buffy, you can watch this of it, and you're just as much of a Buffy fan as the rest of us.
I was a Buffy fan. I don't want to. I hate that we ended on the one that was my least favorite because I liked the pilot. I liked School Hard, and I loved Hush. And then this one left me cold. But that's, but, you know,
but
3
then,
out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the anomaly. Like there's no other episode that's like that.
Right.
And they never they never come back to that, or that guy didn't come back or anything.
Oh my God, guys. How fast did this hour fly?
Right?
So fast.
Right?
Wait, before we wait, Kyle, what was the one that I wanted her to watch that you
wanted? When She Was Bad.
When She Was Bad.
So When She Was Bad is Buffy she has a rough time at the end of season 1 and goes away, and when she comes back she's different. And so I while it's a good episode, I didn't want that, because then you didn't get to see Buffy as she normally is. You get to see her sort of acting out. You get to, basically you get to see Buffy trying to be Cordelia.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not what I wanted your first experience with Buffy to be.
Pete,
And
what's wrong with you?
It's a
great episode because it also gives us another character that is really important to the show.
Yes.
And so we went a different route. Like, I'm in total agreement, but it is a great episode. And since you watched the pilot, that would be another. It's season 2, episode 1, and it's just right after the end. So it's out there now.
So not just because he's your friend, but like Tommy Lake as another one who popped. Like he came on and just had like maybe like a 3-episode arc, and people loved him.
He's so great.
Pete and I being 2 of those people. His character was great, and the other people from he's part of the trio. The other 2 sort of left, and he stayed around. Like they kept him around, and he's in the last episode of the show.
Good for him.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm hoping he's still getting residuals. You know, Disney's doing everything they can to not pay it, but all those people who worked on the show deserve it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do my bit of business, and then you guys are gonna plug your stuff. But then I also want to talk about other people that were up for these roles that I found out about. So. But first, I want to tell everybody that Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. I get to say that to his face. My theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy, and you can find me on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please give it a 5-star review and write a review. Reach out, share your thoughts about any of the topics we talk about. I love hearing from you guys there. And if you're feeling extra supportive, go to makemeanerd.com, hit the join button. $5 a month gets you episodes ad-free and early, and some bonus content. So please consider doing that for the holidays. Okay, so where can everybody find you before I share what I found out about alternative casting?
I have a podcast called the Story Well podcast, where we have a creative person come on and we make up a story. We don't know what it's going to be. Where it's going to be a movie, it's going to be a television show, it's going to be a book. We don't know. We don't know what it's going to be about. And at the end of it, we give the story away. So
yes, and
we yes, exactly. It's we don't know what it's going to be, and at the end of it, if you like it, it's yours. We get Creative Commons attribution. We give it away, so you can take it. You can make whatever you want. If you want to make $1 billion movie with it, great, more power to you. For us, it's just a way to have fun. I consider it a dog park for the imagination. So check out Surreal Podcast. Plus, my audio drama podcast, the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society, of which both of these lovely people have been voices on and will be voices again if I have my way.
Okay, Mandy was like in the musical episode,
yes,
speaking of, and I got blown up after a line. So whatever. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, smart. Still smart. I would like to plug more Kyle, if I could. This is unprecedented.
Okay.
After a long hiatus, we are finally revealing that the next season of the Marvel Movie Minute is coming back. And Kyle Olson and Rob Cabasco are back in the captain's chairs to talk about Iron Man 3. This time, not 1 minute at a time. No, 5 whole minutes at a time. And episodes are being churned out. We're very excited about bringing this show back.
Woo-hoo!
And I cannot wait. I am irrationally excited to reveal the artwork
Oh, I haven't even seen
of
it yet.
the
By the
show.
time of
Kyle has
recording.
not seen it. I cannot wait. And that it's coming in January. So we're very, very excited about that show.
The boys are back in
The
town.
boys are back in town, and they'll tear your soul apart.
And nothing for you, Pete? You're
Nah,
just here to support others?
Yep.
What's that smell,
I
Pete?
love you.
I do a lot of podcasts, and they're on the internet. But
True Story
mostly,
FM.
Kyle's
You
shows
can
are the
enjoy
ones
them while
that-
you're sitting in the dark, wondering what's that smell.
You should promote Sitting in the Dark too. It's your show.
It's also your show. No,
If you're interested in horror podcasts, we would love to invite you to come sit in the dark with us on Sitting in the Dark at True Story FM. It is a show where we talk about horror movies and why horror movies are effective, and sometimes why they're not.
Okay. Have you guys ever heard the rumors about who was offered these roles of Buffy and Xander?
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Some of them.
Well, the ones that stuck out to me, Katie Holmes seems like, okay, I could see her as Buffy. Yeah, sure. And Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah.
Okay, Natasha Lyonne is like, I love Natasha Lyonne so much, and I would make room.
I mean, a very different.
I would
Buffy.
make room in my head for her to take over this role, but I can't see it, but I would because I love her so much.
But it's a different world.
It's a different world,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Reynolds was offered Xander.
Yeah.
Oh, look, this is old
Yeah.
hat to you guys. This
Yeah,
to me
we're-
was revelatory.
Well,
Yeah.
because when was Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place?
It was after, I think.
It was after
Yeah, I
this,
think it was in the
So
early
he was
2000s.
he was hustling, and
got
he was
the-
of the right age.
For those of you watching the video, I have
No,
the
he was.
set of that.
He said,
Yeah.
"I don't want to
Such a
play
great
high
show.
school. I'm too old."
Mhm.
So he was already in his early 20s, and he didn't want to play high school.
He didn't want to play high school with a bunch of 30-year-olds playing high school.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but he also probably thought a show about teenage vampires, that's not going to go anywhere. No
Right.
thanks.
That's
He made the right call for him.
I've literally never
For him.
turned down work as an actor. I don't understand the concept. Screw you, Ryan Reynolds.
He was. Did he already own the football team at the time? Probably no.
No.
He was saving.
That's that Deadpool money.
sweet Deadpool
Uh-huh.
money.
Not at the time. Okay, guys, thank you so much for doing this with me and introducing me to this cultural phenomenon that I have missed out on for all my 30 years. My 22 year. I don't know. Okay. I love you both.
You're going to be late to class, Mandy.
And for my audience, I think I have the order right. Next week, you will hear Megan Isser doing the documentary King of Kong, which I cannot rave about enough. So everybody go watch that documentary so you can hear our discussion about it. Thank you. And until next time.
Buffy lives.